I was far from being one. If you were the perfect child, the one who could do no wrong, who got all the praise, who everyone said was so lucky to be the favorite child. If you were that child, then this video is going to be a little hard to watch because I'm going to speak directly to you. Because what I'm about to explain is why being the golden child is actually a form of abuse. Yes, you heard me right. Being a golden child is actually a form of abuse, and how it sets you up for relationship disasters as an adult. That's what we're going to explore in today's session. And if you weren't the golden child, this is going to help you understand that sibling or family member in a completely different way. So, welcome back to Huddle Psychology, and I am Rahul Nair. So, let's, as always, set this up. Firstly, let's go to the definition. Let's define what we mean by golden child syndrome. This is when a parent or a family system kind of designates one child as special, the one who gets excessive amount of praise, attention, and privileges. They're held up almost as the standard, the gold standard, the success story, the one who can do no wrong. On the surface, this looks like a good thing, isn't it? I mean, who wouldn't want to be loved, praised, and celebrated? But here's what most people don't understand. Being the golden child is not about, and please listen to this very, very carefully. Being the golden child is not about being loved for who you are. It is not about being loved for who you are, but it's about being loved for what you represent to the parent. Let me say that once again with underline, because it's important to know the difference. Being a golden child is not about being loved for who you truly are, but it's about being loved for what you represent to your parent. They are not the same things. You're not a person with your own needs, feelings, and identity. You're kind of a trophy, a reflection of the parents' success, a way for them to feel good about themselves. And that kind of conditional love creates some really specific, problematic psychological damage that follows you into every relationship for the rest of your life. So let's dive a little deeper into this. The first way golden child syndrome damages you is by teaching you that love is conditional on performance. Love is conditional on performance. You learn that you're only valuable when succeeding, when achieving, or making others proud. That's when you're valuable. This creates what psychologists like to call contingent self worth, because your self worth is quite simply contingent on all these other things. Your sense of value depends entirely on external validation and accomplishment. You become addicted to praise, and you become terrified of disappointing anyone. That's tough. As an adult, this shows up as an impossible to maintain perfectionism. Impossible to maintain perfectionism. You can't relax in relationships because you're constantly performing, trying to be the perfect partner, the perfect friend, the perfect employee, etc. You're exhausted, you're tired, you're exhausted because you never learned, you never really learned that you could be loved and appreciated just for being yourself, just for existing. You never really learned that. You never really picked up on that. And here's the cruel irony. The cruel irony that the harder you try to perfect, the more distant your relationships become. The more perfect you try to make them, the more distant your relationships become. Because people can sense when you're play acting, when you're performing instead of being your authentic self. People can sense that. They feel like they can't measure up to your standards, or that they don't really know the real you. All of these are problematic. And you end up lonely. You end up lonely despite being successful, because you've never learned how to be vulnerable. You never learned how to ask for help or let people see your flaws. You never let them love you nevertheless. Let's go deeper. The second major damage is that golden children often have no idea. Golden children often have of no idea who they actually are outside of what others expect them to be. They seldom have an idea of who they are beyond other people's expectations. Your parents didn't love you for your authentic self. They loved you for being their ideal. So you learned to kind of suppress parts of yourself that didn't fit the perfect child image. Your real feelings, interests, genuine personality, all of these things got buried under layers of performance. As an adult, this means you don't know how to set boundaries. You don't know how to set boundaries because you don't know what you actually want or need. You can only set boundaries if you're aware of your own needs. You say yes to everything because you're still trying to be the perfect person. You don't want to let anyone down. You want to be that perfect person that everyone wants you to be. You struggle with decision making because you've never learned to trust your own judgment. You're always looking for external validation to tell you what's right. So you haven't practiced going by your gut. You haven't practiced your own judgment. And that's difficult when it comes to decision making. You might change your entire personality depending on who you are with, because you learned that love means being what other people need you to be. So you are here with someone and your personality is A, you are here with somebody else and your personality is B, C, D, and your personality keeps changing because what have you learned? You have learned that love means being what others need you to be. So, where is your personality to talk about? And you have a really hard time with conflict. You really have a hard time with conflict because your entire identity, your entire identity was built on being good and keeping everyone happy. When someone is upset with you, it threatens your entire sense of self. So you have a really hard time with even constructive conflicts because all you have learned throughout your life is how to be the good person who does not fight. These are all quite challenging when it comes to adult life. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated because golden child syndrome can also create some very problematic traits that are hard to be around. Not only are you trying to be a goody two shoes with everybody else, but the syndrome also creates certain traits in you that makes it difficult for others to be around you. So let's explore what they are. When you're raised being told that you're special, better than others, and deserving of privileges, you develop a sense of entitlement. Obviously, you might struggle to handle criticism. You expect special treatment or understand why people don't see how amazing you are. You struggle to understand why others cannot see that how golden you are. So all of these are problematic. This isn't because you're necessarily a bad person. It's because your brain is or was literally wired in an environment where you were the center of attraction, center of everyone's attention. And everyone else's needs came second after yours, always after yours. So you might, because of this, you might struggle with empathy. Not because you don't care about people, but because you were never taught to consider somebody else's perspective. Your feelings and experiences were always the most important one in the room. In adult relationships, this can look like emotional immaturity. You might have meltdowns, quite literally, when things don't go your way. You might struggle to comfort partners when they're upset, or expect others to manage your emotions like your parents did. These are all things that can rise up. And then there are certain relationship patterns as well that we need to talk about. So, what do golden child relationship patterns actually look like? Firstly, you're often attracted to people who treat you like you're special, right? And treat you as if you're such a wonderful thing. But when the honeymoon phase kind of ends and they start treating you like a normal human being with, flaws which are natural to every human being, you feel rejected. You feel confused. You might also be drawn to relationships where you can be the savior or the successful one because that feels familiar. Or you gravitate toward people who need fixing because that gives you the the admiration and gratitude that you are addicted to. On the flip side, you might struggle with partners who are also successful like you, also confident like you, because you're not used to sharing the spotlight. So you will have problem with partners who are as successful, as confident as you. You'll have problems with them. Why? Because you're not used to sharing the limelight. You learned that love means being the most important person in the room. And when conflicts arise, you either completely shut down because you can't handle not being seen as perfect, or you become defensive and blame your partner or somebody else for not appreciating how hard you try. So, those are some relationship patterns. There's also sibling damage that we need to talk about if you have siblings and you happen to be a golden child. Now, being the golden child often means that someone in your family was the scapegoat on the receiving end, the one who kind of got blamed, criticized, or ignored, neglected. You might have unconsciously participated in or benefited from their mistreatment. As an adult, you might struggle with sibling relationships because there might be pent up resentment on both sides. They resent you for all the preferential treatment that you received, and you might resent them for not appreciating how hard it has been for you to be the favorite one. You might also have a really hard time when family members start setting boundaries with your parents because the family dysfunction was completely organized around making you feel special. When that system gets challenged, it threatens your entire identity. So that's a little bit about the sibling dynamics that can happen. Let's talk a little bit about, spend a couple of minutes on the healing process. So, how do you heal from the golden child syndrome and build healthier relationships? First, Recognize that your childhood wasn't as perfect as you thought it was. Recognize that. Being the favorite was a form of emotional abuse. Understand that. Even if it felt good at that time. Your needs for authentic love and acceptance weren't actually met. That's what happened. Secondly, work on developing your authentic identity. Work on developing your authentic self. Start asking yourself what you actually like, what you actually want, what you actually believe in, separate from what you think you should like or you should want based on someone else's expectations. Thirdly, practice being imperfect. Yes, you heard me right. You must have heard practice makes you perfect. Here, I am saying practice being imperfect in small, small ways. Let people see you struggle. Let people see you asking for help. Let people see you admit that you can be wrong. You were wrong. Notice that people can still appreciate you, people can still love you, understand you, even when you're not performing. Fourth, develop genuine empathy by practicing perspective taking. When someone is upset, try and resist the urge to make it about you and offer a fix immediately, as if you can save every situation and every problem. Just listen and try to understand somebody else's point of view and their experience. Fifth, work on your relationship with your siblings or other family members if possible. Acknowledge the ways that the family system privileged you and hurt somebody else. Accept it, acknowledge it, and then take responsibility for your part in perpetuating harmful dynamics within the family. Take responsibility. And finally, as always, find a therapist who understands family systems and narcissistic personalities and abuse, etc. Because golden child trauma is real trauma, even though it doesn't look like traditional abuse. It is still a form of abuse. So if you've been watching this so far and recognizing yourself as a golden child, please know that none of this was actually your fault. You were a child trying to survive in a dysfunctional system by being what your parents needed you to be. That's it. But now, as an adult, you get to choose differently. You get to learn who you really are, build authentic relationships, and break the cycle for the next generation. And that's completely in your hands, and it's your choice. So, if this video gave you some points, some insight into your own patterns, or helped you kind of better understand someone else in your life, then please hit that like button and let me know in the comments section, have you experienced the golden child syndrome? What has your healing journey looked like? Or have you seen somebody else as a golden child and what has been their trajectory? growth, healing. Share it in the comments section. And as always, this video is going to be supported by a long form content on our post, on our blog, huddlepsychology.substack.com, where you'll have a bigger essay on this topic with references and suggested readings if you want to dive kind of deeper into this subject. And also, if you want more psychology content that explains the complex family dynamics we are all trying to cope with, we're all trying to understand, then make sure you subscribe to our channel because we are diving deep into all of them. And if there's anything within this video, any topic that you would want to talk to me on a one on one basis, then please leave me a note in my email inbox, rahul@huddlepsychology.com. Introduce yourself, tell me your story, and I'll try and get back to you as quickly as I can. So that's it for this session on the very important topic of the golden child syndrome. And until next time, keep flourishing, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.